Hey guys, welcome to another installment of Mindset. This is a segment talking about the mentality of getting through a lot of difficult issues when it comes to fasting, when it comes to weight loss, when it comes to our weight loss journey. Today we're going to be talking about the scale. The scale is a thing that I hate. I've said it many times. I can't stand the scale, but it's one of those things where you can't live with it and you can't live without it. And at this point in my journey, I still can't live without it. I weigh every single day, first thing in the morning, trying to see where I'm at, if I've progressed. And even though I've talked about that it isn't the be-all, end-all, that it shouldn't determine how you should feel for the day, it's one of those things that I still can't walk away from. I feel like many other people feel very similarly. So Ingrid left a comment, a question on one of my videos lately that says, "Hi Jerome, do you ever have anxiety before a refeed?" Quick answer, yes, I do. Anxiety a lot of the times before a refeed. Maybe not so much today as I did in the past, but she continues and says, "I was only going to do 70 hours, a 70-hour fast, but this morning when I weighed myself, I saw that I finally just barely broke into the 180s at 189.6 pounds. So yes, I can totally relate with this in so many ways. Before I got into the 210s or under 200 or at 180 or breaking into the 170s, 160s, so on, so forth. Yes, happens all the time. So continues on here and says, "I decided to extend my fast at least until tomorrow because I was too uptight to eat, because I know if I did refeed today, tomorrow I'll be back in the 190s. Does that ever happen to you? Yes, all the time. That happened at the beginning of when I first started fasting, at the beginning of my weight loss journey, and it's also something that's happening a year later, a year plus later. It still happens to me. I'm still obsessed with the number on the scale. Again, maybe not at the same intensity, the same kind of priority initially, because at the beginning I was just trying to lose as much as possible. All I really cared about was the number. I wasn't thinking about really anything else. All I wanted to do was get the number down as quickly as I could. Those priorities have shifted as time has gone on, but it's definitely something I still deal with today. To kind of relate to all of this, I posted something today earlier on my Instagram, and it was a chart. It was a chart of my weight from day one to today is October 7th. Today is day 391. And I don't know exactly how I wrote it verbatim on my post, but it was pretty much me showing 391 days of consistency. And I posted that there because I wanted to show the graph of the ups and downs of my journey. It was never perfect, never. It wasn't just a straight downward slope to goal. Yes, the overall picture, the bigger picture of things shows a drop, a significant drop, a drop that I worked very hard to get to, but there are peaks and valleys within that drop. In that same Instagram post, Light It Up KB commented and just said, "Trust the process." I couldn't say it any better. The one thing that was so hard for me to do was to walk away from that scale. I always depended on that number to go down. And like Ingrid put in her post, there were times where I would do a 3-day fast or a 4-day fast, but if that number didn't drop to where I wanted it to be, if it didn't hit the next number down or whatever it was, I would extend that fast for another day. This isn't something that everybody can do. This isn't something that I'm telling you you should do. I'm not telling you to look at the scale, like let's say you attempted a 90-hour fast, and after those 90 hours, you still are not lower in weight than you were on your previous 90-hour fast. I'm not telling you to go another day, but that's something that I've done. I looked at that, I was like, I'm still not where I need to be, or that weight isn't low enough. I would push it another day. One of the big reasons though that I was able to push it another day is because One, I physically felt okay, but two, I also was overweight. I was obese. I knew that I had excess fat and that I was gonna be okay to get through the next day. I was taking my electrolytes. Physically, I felt fine. Mentally, I felt fine, and I was able to push it. But in no way, shape, or form was that always easy. Some days were easier than others. The hard part about it is when you tell yourself you're gonna do a 90-hour fast, a 65-hour fast, a 168-hour fast. And when that time comes and you're not happy with where you're at, the mentality of trying to tell yourself, okay, let's just add one more day to it, is brutal. Not many people can do that. And I totally understand that, because you already, for most people, when they wake up that morning, the day they know they're about to break, they're already thinking about food. They're already thinking about what they're gonna refeed with, what they're gonna eat, where they're gonna go to get food, whatever it may be. To wake up, to know that, but then to step on the scale and then feel deflated and then tell yourself, maybe I should go another day. Do you know how hard that is? I mean, maybe it's not hard for some people, but I feel the majority of people, or at least in my personal experience, having to do that was always a struggle. Always a struggle. It was frustrating because I was like, God damn it, I have to fast for another day. If you're physically capable, if it will mentally make you feel better to push it another day, and if you have that discipline to do it, I would say do it. But that really depends on you. It depends on how you're feeling. It depends if you really think that you can get through another day of fasting. That isn't for everybody. That is that kind of like willpower, determination to fight through another day, to know that, you know, the results the next day will most likely be better than the day previous because you're going another 24 hours worth of fasting. In the same respect, you have to remember that if you've gone 3 days worth of fasting and the weight isn't where you want it to be, you also have to remember that you have just burned a ton of calories. You have put yourself at such a caloric deficit that you have burned fat off. A lot of times it's water retention. Usually during these refeeds, I've said it many times, when I refeed, I gain anywhere between 4 pounds, 6 pounds. There are times I've gained 8, 9 pounds after a refeed. And sometimes it takes days. When I first started fasting, when I was doing like 4 or 5, 7-day fasts, sometimes it would take 4 or 5 days to even get the weight down to like where I was on my last fast. There were times I would weigh 1 or 2 days after and I would gain weight. Like, imagine where my head was at when I would gain weight. It made zero sense to me, but I told myself that it's just water retention. And like that comment on my Instagram post, you have to trust the process. You have to trust the process. If you look at the big picture of things, if you know you're putting yourself at that caloric deficit day after day, that extra fat will get off of you. You will lose that weight. You just have to trust the process. The big issue with a lot of people is they don't like that number on the scale, and then it becomes deflating. They feel defeated and they're like, forget it. I'm just gonna eat whatever. And then you get that temporary pleasure of eating food. And then sure enough, after you're done, you're like, why did I do that? Why did I was going so well. I was doing so well on my fast. And yeah, you don't want to put yourself in that position. I understand how that goes. I've been there many times. I get myself out of that weird position in my head where I end up telling myself, this is water retention. It's not a big deal. It's gonna come off. If you have the power to not weigh that often, that is honestly more power to you. That's something that I still can't do. But if you can stop looking at the scale so frequently, so obsessively, that might be beneficial for you. The one thing that I try to share is something called non-scale victories. These are victories that don't involve the scale. These are victories that work with measuring inches around your body. Anything that will not involve the number on the scale. The one thing that was really beneficial for me was having old clothes or even buying new clothes that were smaller, that didn't fit at all, that were super tight, and I would hang them in the front of my closet. I've talked about this before, but I would hang them in the front of my closet and I would try them on once a week, once every 2 weeks, but I would always keep them in the front of my closet because during moments of weakness, during times where I felt like I wanted to break, I would go to my closet and I would say, let me try this on. And if I didn't try it on for 2 or 3 weeks, I remember I'd put something on and I'd be like, holy shit, it fits so much better. And sometimes that was enough to get me through it. I remember I had this one shirt that I really liked and you would pop the buttons in, and it was way small for me when I first started fasting. It was at a time where I could wear it back in the past, and I never got rid of it because I said, one day, Jerome, you're gonna fit into this again. I kept that in the front of my closet, and I would occasionally put that on, and I remember one day I was able to finally fit the buttons. The buttons all popped in. And it was one of those like, oh my God, this fits. It might be tight, but it fits. And then I remembered, I sat down wearing that shirt and the bottom buttons popped because my stomach was just too big around there. And it popped those buttons. And I remember clearly, because this was when I was still living in California and I was like, I don't know, in the first 2 months or so of my weight loss journey, but I remember telling to myself, one day I'm gonna be able to wear this shirt so that the buttons won't pop when I sit down. Like that was just a small goal. So before I couldn't even button the shirt. And then finally I was able to button it, but it was too tight. And then it was still too tight that when I sat down, it would pop the bottom buttons. And then eventually it got to the point where I could wear that shirt and none of the buttons would pop. I remember sitting on my bed, like trying to extend my gut out to get the buttons to pop, and I couldn't do it. And when that day came, it was, I can't even explain the happiness I had for accomplishing that goal. Where's that shirt today? I gave it away because now that shirt's too big. It's too big that I can't even wear it. So that could be a way of doing it. Another way of doing that could also just be taking a picture of yourself in a tight shirt. I am going to share a picture of me wearing a tight shirt that was never meant to be shared to anybody but me. But I would take pictures like this because it was a reminder of what I looked like then and what it could be later. This shirt that I wore was super, super tight. I think I was maybe a month and a half into my weight loss journey, and I couldn't even put it on when I first got it. The shirt would not even get on me because I probably would have broke it. I probably would have ripped the shirt trying to put it on. But a month and a half in, I put it on, I took a picture, and then, I don't know, 2 months later or so, I took another picture and I compared the two, and it was like those are the non-scale victories. Those are the little things that you can try to do to help push you forward. I'm gonna end this off again by saying, trust the process. If you believe in the process, if you're able to consistently fast, the consistency part, that's the key. That's part of the process. That's part of trusting the process, to not worry too much about what the scale says. If you're doing what you need to do, if you're making sure you're putting yourself at a caloric deficit, doesn't matter how long it takes. If you're putting yourself at a caloric deficit, the results will come. Don't worry so much about what the scale says. I am the worst person to give this advice because I am so obsessed with that scale. I am just trying to give advice about what I wish I could, keep practicing upon myself. It's a mental mind fuck. It really is. It is. I was trying to think of a better way to say it, but that's exactly what it is. Great. My battery went out. Hopefully I get the right spot for this. Where was I at? 43 hours into my fast is what I'm saying. There is somebody out there who is also in the middle of a fast. I am in the middle of a 65-hour fast right now. Think about the fact that wherever you're at in your journey, somebody, even if you're not directly talking to them, think about me. I'm currently in this fast. Do it with me. It's one of those things where you can tell yourself, hey, he's doing it. He's doing it right now. I am doing it right now. Use that as motivation. Use that as inspiration. Know that there's somebody else doing that with you. People always talk about starting tomorrow. starting Monday, starting next week, starting next month, the beginning of next year. There's no point. You can start today. If you're watching this right now and you're eating and you're telling yourself, I'm going to start tomorrow, start tonight. Finish what you're eating. Start your fast. Let's get going. Hit that like button if you like this video. Feel free to subscribe if you want to help support. I do have a Patreon as well. You can check that out at patreon.com/finallyfasting. It's a great way to help offset costs. It's a way to show support, try to help me keep creating content as regularly as possible. Either way, thank you for stopping by. I will see you guys in the next one. Have a good one, guys. Bye.